4 readers, 1 bike, and a week full of thrilling riding. This is the Cycle World Honda NC700X Adventure Challenge.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our final episode in the Cycle World Honda NC700X Challenge. I'm here with all my wonderful guests. I'm co-host of MotoChat, and I'm going to pass it on to Jay and for everyone else to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Ronnie. Good to see you tonight. Yeah, I'm Jay Brandon. I'm one of the co-hosts of MotoChat, a weekly Twitter chat every Wednesday for an hour. We talk about motorcycles. Ronia's my stunning co-host in that. She's fabulous. She's also an awesome rider. And these other 3 guys are some guys that I spent a week riding a very cool new Honda around in Southern California. As guests of Cycle World and Honda, we rode the Honda NC700X, and we had fun, and we told some stories, and some of them might have even been true, and it was a pretty cool time. So, gentlemen, who the heck are you?
Well, I'm James Pratt. I'm with Adventure Rider out of Oklahoma. I'm the Okie guy. The guy likes to wheelie, and so I think they picked me as the experienced rider. Been riding a long time.
Since the Pony Express days, is my understanding.
That's true. That's true. Rode them across the Great West.
And my name's John. I'm the guy from Ojai, as described in the video in the Honda promotion. I've been around for about 10 years, and I have a coffee business. I just got off the boat from China, so I'm a little, as you can see, a little rough around the edges. It's very cold there, and happy to be back with my fellow riders. I missed you guys for the past couple weeks. I got lonely without you.
And I am Pat Flynn from Southern California. Been riding for probably 15 years. Started out a little dirt bike and been riding ever since. And cruising around, I just weaved and bobbed through crazy LA traffic and made it all the way home safe and sound.
We thought you were 15 years old.
I started since I was actually younger. I couldn't do the math on the fly, but I started when I was like 9.
Well, we thought you were 15, though.
Oh, right. Just got my
still slow enough.
permit.
Well, I'm glad we got everybody here tonight for, reviewing this last episode. So, how was you guys' experience?
Well, we finally get to ride the damn bikes a little bit.
As soon as I watched it, I said, James's dream finally came true, minus the wheelies.
Minus the dirt. That was. Yeah. They wouldn't even let me. When we were taking those photos, I want to ride it up on the berm to take those photos on the ocean. They wouldn't let me do that way to push it up on the berm, but that's all right. We got to ride the twisties. That was really fun.
And we got to follow, Cycle World's publisher, Andy Leisner, who is, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, like a former GP racer.
Yeah.
And we got to follow that guy through the canyons, or through the mountains, and that was pretty much the highlight of my whole trip, to be honest.
Yeah, that was pretty spectacular.
He could book it.
Andy was on a 250. We're on these 670cc bikes, and he made it look easy. And none of us were able to keep up with him without really, really struggling. And he's probably like on the phone and doing his email and writing letters to his kids and stuff while he's riding. He was just cash. It was great.
Yeah,
I was able to keep up somewhat, but he couldn't catch him. But I could somewhat keep up with him.
He even let me borrow that 250 for, I don't know, probably about close to 100 miles. No, it was less than 100 miles, but it made me realize, that maxim about it's the wand, not the magician. Like he was riding the same bike I was riding, and I couldn't get that thing to do nearly half the stuff that he was doing on it.
Yeah.
So it's a real lesson in what it means to be a skilled rider. So yeah, I mean, to Pat's point, hanging out with a guy like that just makes you a better rider. And it was fun to ride 300 miles, and I would say even more fun. Pat and I got to ride home after that shoot was over, and so that was about 600, almost 700 miles for us. And we did everything from, it was like 110 degrees. By the time we got down to Orange County, we were freezing, man. It was so cold, but that was just an awesome ride. It was fun.
Cool.
Well, I was just thinking about that on my drive home today, right? I mean, it's not cold for the rest of America's standards, but I mean, it's getting chillier down here. And we did that drive. I was just thinking about it, John. It was 111 degrees. sweating, you know, like crazy. I had that Dainese jacket. I had the zip-off sleeves, and like, you know, it was so stinking hot. I just finally put in all the inserts that thing came with, full like thermal vest, plus a full waterproof thing, you know, a windbreaker, and then the outer shell, and it is toasty, and it's so nice to have that now. So I was just thinking that that jacket's been in, you know, 111-degree weather, and now like 50s. So getting the full range.
Yeah.
You riders, try riding in 30 degrees.
I've camped
you
up
guys
there.
really took some really great pictures with your phones. You know, I really liked the one that you did, James. That turned out really cool.
That wasn't with my phone.
Yeah, and John's was really cool because your gear was kind of shining too back in the picture. That was really neat.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Like we literally, you know, in the contest it said we had all day to take photos. We didn't have all day to take photos. We had basically about 11 minutes before the sun went down and snapped those off.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make fun of Cycle World, but that was technically very challenging. And the best photo I thought from that experience was actually James came and found me, and we were riding back together. So I asked him to ride in front of me, and I snapped some shots off with my left hand. And that was the photo I really thought was the one I had submitted, but apparently Cycle World liked the other one. So. But it's fine, you know. Those guys took such amazing photos. I could have had a naked woman on top of the bike with me on it, and it wouldn't have made a whole bit of difference, you know. My wife just.
When I saw James's picture, I thought it was all over. I mean, we had some cool pictures, and James's were in a class by themselves. But
well, I am a professional photographer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just so the rest of the world knows, that's kind of your job, isn't it, right, James?
Yeah,
the rest of us are just hacks. So.
Hey, well, yeah, not to be a complainer, but James got to use his SLR and his laptop and Photoshop, and was an hour late to submit his photo.
I was not an hour late. I was on time. They were trying to rush me. That's what that kind of pissed me off because I was getting my thing ready, and they kept trying, hurry, hurry, hurry. And I was going.
I wish Bill was here to counter that statement.
I didn't know that, Pat. That's interesting. Maybe we should protest this.
I've been complaining to Garrett on Facebook. This was an Instagram challenge, not an SLR challenge, James.
Yeah, exactly. You should have used your phone, James. Oh boy.
They just said you had to sit on Instagram. Nobody said you had to use it on your phone.
But then that goes back to what John just said about the whole magician and wand thing. I mean, I think the result would have been different. I don't think it would have. I mean, James has phenomenal photography skills, so.
Not challenging that.
No.
He is the man. So, Pat, I want to know, did airport security give you problems taking home that trophy? Oh, my God.
I live locally, so I didn't have to fly.
You drove it home. So how'd you strap it to your bike then?
I didn't have a bike. I had to drop the bikes off at Cycle World, and then I had to get a ride back from Cycle World because I didn't have my personal bike there. I was on, you know, the Hondas. But... you know, I had that trophy, and I've basically been hiding it in my workshop because I didn't want to show. You know, I'm trying not to tell anyone. I don't want to hype it up. I don't want to get in trouble that I've won. You know, and it got released early. So I mean, it's been stuffed in the back of my shop, like just hidden. So now I can at least finally bring it out and put it on display or something. So
that was sweet.
If I've
been using it as a magazine rack because, like, if you saw in the pictures, it's got like 2 backdrops of mountains, and I can just slide the magazines right in there.
If I'd had any inkling at all that there was going to be an opportunity to ride a bike back to LA from Fresno, I would have been with you guys. When we were up at the ski resort up there, by road, that's only about 5 hours from my house going over the Sierra. And what is it, like 7 or 8 hours, something like that, back to LA? So James and I and Bill got a lift back to the airport. There was mass chaos at the airport. I never saw those guys again. We got to the airport, what, James, like 1 o'clock, 1:30, something like that? I don't know, 2, fairly early. And my flight wasn't until like 4:30 or 5. It was delayed a couple of times. I had to go through San Francisco. There were delays there. And then into Reno. The Reno airport is an hour's drive from my house. I got home at 3 o'clock the next morning. You know, it took me like 14 hours to go what I could have driven in 5. And if I mean, riding a bike back to LA and then flying, I still would have gotten home faster even if I'd left at the same time. So,
it was cool to have free reign on the bikes, you know. And after riding the NC700X for a week, I convinced Cycle World to let me take the Honda VFR 1200.
That's sweet.
And hopping on a 1200cc bike after a 700 was a pretty exhilarating experience, and to be able to ride it, without having someone watch over you.
Without any
leave it at that, but it was.
That's pretty cool.
Had you ridden that big Honda before, Pat, or anything?
I'd never ridden over a liter. I'd ridden a 1000cc bike is the biggest I'd ever ridden. So no, it was the biggest, fastest, meanest bike I'd ever ridden, and then to get it for 7 hours going through the mountains is
awesome.
Pretty awesome.
It was funny riding with him on the straightaways, and we were by ourselves for a long time, like in these remote areas. And Pat would just be sitting there next to me, and then he'd look over, and then look it back, and look over, and look back, and then, gone. And it really makes you understand, just sort of like how much fun it is to ride bikes. When I enjoyed riding that bike for the week, but it really makes you understand like how much fun riding motorcycles is when you get to get on a 1200 like that. And, open it up a little bit. So
yeah,
it was a fun ride.
I had a CBR 1000 RR for quite a while, and they're just totally awesome. And you can run down the Interstate 70, pop the throttle, and the front end comes up.
Wow.
Yeah, they're incredible. That 1200 is this fast though. Did you wheelie it?
I didn't wheelie it, but
I did. It's kind of hard to get up.
Does that surprise us?
When Andy handed me the keys, he gave me this look of like, "Do not blow this, Patrick." And so I was trying to be well behaved. There was just some straightaways in like complete farmland, like John was saying, and kind of like no one around, and I had that AGV helmet with the visor on it. Yeah. So when I'm tucked down, going relatively fast, and lifted my head up, and it just gave me a fat yank.
You feel like you're gonna get pulled off the bike?
And that helmet was never an issue. I thought that visor would be less comfortable. It was fine until I started going really fast.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I have another question, you guys. So the awards you got for third, second place, James, you didn't get an award, did you?
I didn't get nothing.
What was on it? What was on the coin? Did it say Cycle World, Honda? I mean,
they're like, I'll grab mine. It's right here because I keep it really.
I was going to say, I wonder. I think I gave mine to my kids, and they were playing with it for a while. I think Barbie is rocking my NC700X.
This is in case anybody important comes by the house. I want them to know that I'm important as well. Yeah, so it's they're medals. It says second place Cycle World Honda NC700X Adventure Challenge.
Hold it up there. Let's see it.
Cool. What's that? Put it up on the. Let's take a look.
Can you guys see it?
There you go.
Gaze on it, James.
Somewhat.
Gaze.
Yeah, I know.
Too close.
I've never seen one before.
Yeah.
That was the brief flash when you guys put them on.
Now that I know that James cheated on the photo challenge, I'm going to pull a Muhammad Ali and chuck mine into the river.
Because you don't feel as deserving, or what?
No, because I didn't realize that I lost under duress. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, whatever it takes to win, right, James?
Right.
Second place is the first loser, man. That's what I tell my kids all the time.
Fourth place is the last loser, though.
Ultimately, what did you guys learn from this entire 4-week challenge? What did you take home?
Stuff we can talk about publicly, or what?
First off, Cycle World treats you like kings, man. They are awesome. It was really. I've never been to a place where they give you free alcohol, all you wanted for an entire week.
And I actually thought was interesting is, obviously we're 4 guys with 4 different backgrounds and technically 4 different age groups, but we kept finding out that there's a lot of stuff we had in common. Like we kept talking about guns and bourbon. There's always this sort of like string that ran through the interest that I'm not saying all guys who ride bikes have the same interest, but for the 4 of us, it seemed like, you can always talk about bikes. It's like when you go to a Christmas party or a cocktail party and you're bored out of your mind, you always can sniff out that one guy who's who likes the same thing you do. And usually with me, it's motorcycles. You can always find him and head off into the corner and not talk to everybody else. And that was what sort of was nice about this, is that we all had a lot in common aside from just riding. Yeah,
I go to that stuff and they talk about golf, and I'm going.
Yeah.
Man, I just don't get golf at all. And people want to talk about golf, and I got nothing to contribute, and I'm not even the least interested. So I'm with you, James.
Yeah, motorcycles, guns.
Yeah, I've found that people who ride tend to be pretty cool people to hang out with. You know, there's, like any social group, there's going to be occasionally somebody you just don't want to be around. But motorcycle people are generally pretty cool people, and you share an interest, you got stuff to talk about, and then, you know, it often spills over into other things like shooting and whatever, you know.
PBR.
PBR. And cigar.
I tell you what, Pat, when you come to my house, you're going to have to bring your own PBR.
I'm bringing a 12-pack of PBR. I'm going to drink your bourbon while you drink PBR.
That's not going to happen, bro. Sorry.
The other thing I kind of was surprised with is the bike itself. Before I went, I was really thinking, man, there's no way this bike's going to fit me or anybody I know. It looks like it's not that good of an adventure bike, because I'm used to a lot of off-road, you know, riding KTMs and dirt bikes, but then when we actually got on the bike after we rode it a few days, I was really pretty surprised. It's a really good bike for a lot of people. So I was kind of turning my head. I was a naysayer before I went, and you know, I still wouldn't buy it today. It's not for me, but I can see it fitting a lot of people. It's a really nice bike. I think Honda's done a good job on it.
James, are you talking about the ergonomics of it, or the rideability, or just the whole total package?
You know, the ergonomics are fine. I think it's great ergonomics. It's a little underpowered, and it's not really set up for true adventure ride. I mean, what I call, you know, it's not really set up for off road. You can't. It's really, you know, I'd be real hesitant to take it off a lot of dirt roads and, you know, bang the skid plates and, you know, get in the dirt and really tear it up very much. It's kind of like a Ducati Multistrada in that, you know, you got a beautiful Multistrada that claims an adventure bike, but who wants to take a beautiful Multistrada and go beat the crap out of it, you know?
Just because it's $20,000?
Well, I mean, my Beamer's $20,000 too, but, you know, they're kind of designed for that. They got skid plates and armor
and wire wheels, stuff like that.
Yeah. So,
well, you know, about the ergonomics you're saying, James, is that we finally got to open up that bike and go for a long ride, and I was surprised too. Like, you know, we'd done 3 or 4 or whatever hours and still pretty comfortable. You know, like, you can do a long haul in that thing pretty easily.
Yeah, it's a very comfortable bike for a long distance. I think it's great for a lot of people. And
what did you guys think about the seat? Before we took this trip, I had read a fair amount about the bike online, and a few guys that had ridden it said they just hated the seat. And I was expecting to hate the seat, and I didn't.
Well, first off, you got to realize I rode a stock CBR 1000 RR from Oklahoma to California to Oregon to Washington and home over about 5,000 miles with a stock seat. So seats don't bother me too much. I got a pretty hard ass. But I thought the seat was fine. I thought it was
personal.
Thanks for sharing.
Pat, what did you think of the seat on the bike?
Well, you know, that's what I noticed that I would do. I don't know. I mean, I'm 6'2". Every now and then I would lean back and put my ass on like the passenger seat, you know, kind of so you could stretch out a little more. And I think I saw some of the other guys doing that too throughout the trip.
That helped a lot.
But I mean, that might be just to mix it up. You know, you just get kind of stale sitting in one position for so long. So I would move around. I mean, for me, I think the seat could be a tiny bit higher, but they're not designing it for a 6'2" person necessarily. You know, it's supposed to be more all-purpose. And I feel like, you know, my wife could get on that. You know, my first time riding friends could get on that and feel comfortable and have their feet fully planted. Or, you know, I don't necessarily need that.
I just wondered, because I know that you ride a lot of cafe racers, and the seats on those things are basically a board with a piece of leather on them. I mean, there's no ergonomics on those bikes at all, right?
More or less. Yeah, I mean, like my Triumph right now is stretched out really forward. I've got clip-ons that are like in front of the forks, and it's, you know, you're pretty cramped. Not cramped, but like, you know, you're not sitting in a comfy like seated position. You're stretched out and getting after it.
What did you think, John?
Yeah, I had the same experience Pat did. I stuck my ass in the back part of the passenger seat, and I kind of felt like I was riding a chopper, because you are, like, your hands are sort of further out. But I'll tell you, on that ride home on Friday, I was in a lot of pain the latter half of that trip. I'm sitting on that bike for almost 7 hours, but I can't say that's a NC700X thing. I think that I've had that experience on my Aprilia and on my 82 BMW, so maybe it's just a human thing for me, like just a... After
6 or 7 hours in the saddle, I think on any bike you start to just get fatigued. You know, it doesn't really matter. That was a long haul, and then, you know, we got pitched. It went from 100 to pitch black. We had like smoke screens on. You know, that last couple hours from Santa Barbara to LA were just like, let's get home as quick as we can.
Yeah, that was not fun. You know, I also noticed on Facebook today, you know, Cycle World was promoting the 4th video. And I don't know if you guys noticed this. I think James or maybe Jay, one of you guys wrote a note there, but right above it, these two guys are just hating on the bike, hating on it. Yeah. And I was really surprised, you know, because you think mostly for the most part, motorcycle guys are like always stoked that they're bringing out new bikes, and you can make fun of Hondas if you want because maybe they're not the sexiest bikes in the world, but I don't know, I was just really surprised to see that people like, you know, who obviously are enthusiast riders were cramping on a new bike that was coming into the market and just taking the piss out of it, having not even ridden the damn thing, you know.
I think they're just haters. I mean, there's haters everywhere, and I think, you know, if Cycle World was a little tiny magazine that no one ever heard of, it wouldn't attract the haters. But, you know, they're huge. They've been around for a long time. They've got a long legacy, and they're an easy target.
I think part of the target is, you know, the really hardcore adventure riders, the guys that travel around the world or ride their bikes in really strange, unusual places. You know, a lot of people that ride the adventure stuff, they come from a dirt bike background. Any other KTM guys, they come up through that, and they look at a bike like the Honda, and they're going, well, who in the hell would ride one of those things? That's not a dirt bike. That's not an adventure bike. You wouldn't ride that around the world. And they're probably right, but it's not what it's really geared for, you know.
That's not how it's.
I like what Jay said is, you know, adventure is really what you make of it.
Right. Any motorcycle is an adventure motorcycle if you ride it. I mean, guys have gone around the world on scooters and big cruisers and bicycles. Yeah. You know, I'd say I'll take those guys and give them one of those haters that you're talking about, James, and give them some credibility when they come home from a round the world trip on whatever the hell they rode. Then I'll listen to them.
I'll tell you, if I was going to ride around the world, the bike I'd take is a Honda XR650L.
Yeah.
Old technology, old stuff. That'd be an awesome bike. You know.
Well, I mean, but that seems to be what's throwing people off is that adventure tag in the name of the bike.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit misleading too, and you know, I agree with all of you. I mean, I think you could still absolutely have adventures, and I think you could probably sift in the springs. You could put some knobby Euro tires and still get away with doing like fire trails, you know, and exploring. I'm not saying jumping logs, but you could go find some cool waves, and I could go, you know, for me, I could go of Central California and up and down the rolling hills and take it off road and still have some adventures. But the guys who, you know, that category of adventure bikes is typically like the Super Dukes or, you know, the bigger KTMs and the BMWs and that kind of stuff. So when you're going to lump a bike like that into that kind of elite category, you're going to get the more elitist guys. And James, like, not you're an elitist, but you fall into that category, and you were like, hey, don't call that an adventure bike when, you know, when we're doing this manly, gnarly adventure stuff.
James,
I think there needs to almost, because that bike is a bridge, right? I mean, it's not. Right. All my friends ask me too, like, what's your candid opinion? Like, it crosses boundaries, you know. It's not just a commuter. It's not just this or that. So it kind of needs a name that fits that.
Right. Yeah, good all around bike.
Yeah, James, when you first started riding, there were two kind of bikes. There were dirt bikes and there were street bikes, right? There wasn't 17 categories sliced 42 ways.
Yeah.
You know, and you either had a bike that you couldn't. Yeah, you had a bike
on a street bike, and
right.
I mean, you had to buy your own damn fairing. You know?
Right. In the 70s and 80s, the sort of concept of the universal Japanese motorcycle came out. You know, these big 4-cylinders. They were typically 750s. Occasionally, you got to a liter bike, and those were all around bikes that did everything except motocross. You know, and to me, this Honda is the 21st century interpretation of the universal Japanese motorcycle.
Yeah,
I think of it.
Oh,
that's profound, Jay.
Dude, that is heavy, bro. That is heavy.
You just blew my mind.
You know, Dr. J, he's a philosopher now.
I'm sitting here at MotoChat World headquarters, which you might have noticed is a bar, right? So it's all good.
Nice.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I guess also people forget that when Indians came out in the early 1900s, people took those around the entire country.
Right.
And, I mean, there wasn't paved roads.
Right. Look at the bikes that the military bought during World War II, right? By today's standards, those were big Harley-Davidson cruisers. They were heavy, they were low to the ground, and those guys rode those on unpaved roads on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Cycle World needs to do like a redo and do one actual dirt challenge and let us all toss them around and maybe scratch them up a bit and get them a little more street cred. And we'll have James wheelie the crap out of it, and we'll throw a video up of that.
There we go. I hope Garrett's watching. Did you get that, Garrett?
You have my address.
He's probably in Milan at the motorcycle show again, knowing Garrett.
They just got back from New York, I know, with Bonnier.
The Honda's direct competitors at Suzuki V-Strom. A lot of guys taking guys and gals taking those V-Strom, 650 V-Strom.
But that's officially a dual sport, though.
I mean, no more dual sport. Got a lot of people have ridden those things. There is no more dual sport than that Honda NC700X. It is exactly.
Okay, that was my next question.
The same bike, same family.
Did you read the
V-Strom's got no
issue?
engine protection. It's got cast wheels. It's a very, very...
Where they compared them?
I just downloaded it. It took me 5 times to download it.
They compared, it's the NC700X DCT, the Versus, the GS700, and then does Yamaha make one?
No, and the Honda. It was
V-Strom, wasn't it?
No, it was V-Strom, NC700X, GS, and there's one more. But yeah, they weren't totally friendly to the Honda in that either. But they chose the DCT model, and they were saying part of the point of the Honda is that it's affordable. And if you're going to buy the fully loaded DCT for $9, you can get more bike for less. I think the perfect price point is that 69. Isn't that what it's 69, or is it 50, 69?
69. Yeah.
I mean that really is accessible to people that couldn't normally buy a new bike. Like, I was kind of equating it to a friend. It's like Scion for the auto industry. This is like the first chance where a 16-year-old kid can buy a brand new car. Yeah, this is kind of the same deal. Instead of buying a hand-me-down 5-year-old bike, he can go to the store and buy a brand new NC700X and have out of the dealer. There you go.
Yeah, a nice bike.
I don't know why they did the DCT version. That's kind of goofy.
I think that's all they could get, frankly.
That's what I think. The bikes are in short supply, from what I hear.
Yeah. Well, because I've got one in my garage, so that's.
Well, what's really interesting is, Pat, you were talking about, a young kid being able to afford a bike. The automotive industry is struggling now with how to get younger people into cars because they're so enamored with technology. They're not into cars anymore. Right. Cars have not become the it thing to own when you're a 16, 17-year-old kid. You want to own computers and all these other things that are much more important to kids. So it's interesting that maybe the motorcycle industry should try and – I don't know what the demographics are, on this particular bike, but obviously it's going after a younger person. I don't know how they're going to solve that problem unless they make a bike that is basically all about technology, That's not something we're going to solve on this call, but it's interesting how the interest in purchasing consumer products has changed so significantly in one generation from, we all wanted cars. None of these kids want cars.
Right. I know 18, 19-year-old kids that don't even have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. But they have the new MacBook, which costs like over $2,000.
Right.
Apple needs to make a motorcycle.
Oh my God, that's a brilliant friggin' idea. That's what we should do.
We're going to own the world anyway.
It would probably float and teleport. It's not even a motorcycle.
That's great.
Well, we got 2 minutes, guys. Let's wrap it up. I'll start. I had an awesome time. You guys are welcome at my fire anytime. I'll ride with you anytime you invite me, and we'll bring Rania. It'll be awesome.
Oh, I'd love to join you guys next time.
I'm coming out this summer, so I'll be.
When are you heading out here, James?
I don't know when. I'll make it out sometime, but I usually ride out there once a year, so I'll be blowing a couch or something.
Come on out in August. We got an event up at Tahoe. You're welcome to ride at that. Your GS would fit in perfectly.
I may come out to that what's that? Overland Expo.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. That's in Flagstaff in May.
That's in Flag.
I'm gonna go to that. Yeah. Y'all we ought to meet there. That's a pretty cool event, I hear.
Yeah, that should be a good event. I've always wanted to go. A ton of people we're both Jay and I connected with through MotoChat are all there every year. So it'd be great to meet up.
Yeah, I'll be there. I've been to all of them. I'm actually considering riding a bike to it. I've always taken my truck, and I'm actually thinking about riding a bike this year. So I might do that.
Yeah, I'll be the only one with a Harley, just so you know.
I'm going duck hunting Saturday.
Are you?
Nice cold weather, yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So, John, what would you like to add? And then Pat?
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what do I add to all of this? I don't even know, man. Like, I've been traveling a lot. It's been interesting to seeing the perspective of people from all over the world and motorcycles. I actually saw my first Ducati in in China, the first one I've ever seen.
Wow.
Any performance motorcycle. Everyone there rides electric scooters and Vespas and that kind of, you know, obviously counterfeit Vespas, but they just passed a law that within like the first and second ring of downtown Beijing, you can't have a motorized two-wheeled vehicle. So anyone who owns one has to get rid of it. So it's just really interesting how in some cultures, motorcycling is just kind of getting whittled out when in fact it should be the other way around. You know, I think on one of my social media pages that I want to make Los Angeles the two-wheeled, you know, community that it should be, whether that's motorcycles or bikes. And you know, at least for Pat and I, we live in a market where you can ride pretty much year-round. And you know, anyone who will hear the sound of my voice, I would just tell people, like, why don't we all just go out and get bikes and turn LA into the world's biggest motorcycling community? It'd be so awesome to be stuck in traffic in LA with 4 million other people on two wheels. Would just be a totally different experience. So
yeah, that is really cool. I have to add to that real quick, John. I was in Taiwan a couple of years back, and I was amazed. Like, most of the traffic was all scooters or some type of two-wheel. And that's the way it should be here in our major cities. Absolutely.
Yeah. I know Pat agrees with me, you know.
That would be insane, you know. Like, I mean, I get excited. I don't ever really get passed by motorcycles on the freeway because no one can keep up with me. But no, like, you don't see that many bikes at all. You know, I do. I get jazzed. I see another motorcycle and I'm like checking it out, and you know, like, I just wish there were more riders out here. And I know why. It's my family and friends are all scared every time they know I'm leaving for work. They're like, you know, hope to see you tonight. Like, it's dangerous out there, but it would be really cool to have a bigger community. I mean, we've got a lot of riders around here, but to see more out on the roads would be very cool. Yeah. I guess my quick closing statements were, yeah, both Honda and Cycle World were fantastic hosts and very gracious in everything they did. And, you know, though this bike isn't perfect for everyone, it is a fantastic bike, and it does have a big market, and I think it's going to open up new markets. And, you know, I would just like to thank both Honda and Cycle World, all their other sponsors, and you know, I hope that we can all get back together and hopefully do another kind of shootout with these guys. And
it'd be awesome.
You know, really had a fantastic experience.
And James doesn't cheat, and I get to win. That would be great.
Well, on behalf of MotoChat, I'd also like to thank Cycle World for letting us put all you guys together and do this MotoChat, you know, and really meet everybody. This has been great for me, and listening to the experience. I felt like I really was there with you guys. Wish I was. Maybe next time. But, too bad Bill couldn't have been with us with this closing. You know,
Bill, of course.
I wonder if he ever. What did he do with that shirt?
He got a yoga class tonight.
Next time.
Wasn't he borrowed that shirt last minute from someone else? It's like Garrett's shirt, you know, like size medium. And I'm glad they didn't include those little outtakes. That was hilarious.
But seriously, awesome, guys, thank you so very much. Appreciate you being here, taking the time out of your busy day. Thank you. So we're just going to sign out. Jay, have a great night. James, thanks. John, Pat, cheers, fellas.
Until later, we will meet again.
Until next time.
Ride safe.
All right, guys.